You know, guys, I was enjoying the season, but after twists like this, I really think CBS should reconsider hiring Allison Grodner to do this show every year. Hey guys, coming up for Big Brother 18, episodes 12 through 15. Now, of course, I would have reviewed last night, but I didn't get to because, of course, we had the battle back tonight, or lack of battle back, which I'll talk about. Someone did in fact come back into the house after this episode, but I'll get into, my rants and everything because I have a lot to say about that, and that part I will tell you guys is going to be a rant. I will tell you that right now. Everything about tonight's episode is going to be a rant, but for the next 3 episodes, not going to be a rant necessarily, rather than how I think every contestant is kind of getting really stupid and really comfortable, and it's really starting to piss me off, and how I'm starting to lose interest in the season. But anyways, let's just get into the season because I really do have a lot to talk about, and let's just get into it because damn, there is a lot to talk about. I mean, starting off with Sunday, of course, as we know, Paulie won HOH for whatever reason, which was really dumb. I don't know why he won HOH, and I at first was optimistic. I guess I just wasn't thinking. I don't think was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking when I said, oh, this is awesome that Paulie won. Here was my mindset. I thought that because of how good Paulie was in HOH the first time, I thought he'd be just as good this time. Only to realize that he has completely fucked his game. I mean, after this, if he doesn't get evicted by, next week or the week after, I will be very surprised because I think Paulie pretty much messed up his entire game this week, but we'll get into that. Basically, he talks about how, oh, I didn't want the HOH. He gives that whole I don't want the HOH spiel, and even if he didn't, his plan was bullshit. Basically, this is what I heard his plan was. He was going to stay in until Frank was out. And because Frank never left, he decided that he basically won it. And if that's your strategy, that's just not a safe strategy at all. Because even if you would have won, Frank still would have been safe. And that's the thing with his team twist, is that if he would have won, Frank still would have been safe. He wouldn't have been able to get him out. So I don't really get Paulie's mindset there as to what he was really trying to do. I mean, even though he won, Frank's safe. And Paulie appears to be very, very intent on getting rid of Tiffany. When I mean very intent, I mean he makes it fairly obvious who he wants to get rid of. He doesn't try to hide it at all. He basically just tells everyone, look, I want Tiffany out, I want Tiffany out, I want Tiffany out. And Tiffany is understandably pissed. Now, I really was not a fan of Sunday night's episode because most of Sunday night's episode is the Tiffany Russo whining hour for an hour. That's literally most of what the episode is. It's Tiffany whining for an hour. It's Tiffany suddenly going to other sides and, again, fucking up her entire game. I mean, here's the thing I was liking about Tiffany, is that she was quiet. She very much was quiet. She wasn't like Vanessa. She very much was quiet, but we did see she does have quite of an emotional, sense in her. And that is evidently clear after this episode because of what she ends up doing next. Now, let me just say, I get where she's coming from on some of these things. The fact that everyone was ignoring her, really was not the way to go. Because the second that Bronte walks out the door, all of the APAC or the rest of the APAC that's there are pretty much thinking, what the fuck did we do? Why did we send Bronte out the door? We shouldn't have rid of Tiffany. Now, I get that, but the thing is, you did what you did. The damage is done. You can't really take back what you did, and they basically start acting as if Tiffany's not there anymore, as if Tiffany doesn't exist, and Tiffany obviously feels very uncomfortable with this. And let me just say that if you want to get on a house guest good side, you should never make them feel uncomfortable, because even though Tiffany's not in power that week, she could be in power the following week. And we've seen that Tiffany, especially after this episode, we've seen that Tiffany can win competitions. And here, I felt bad for Tiffany. What she does, though, I very quickly get off her side, because at first she's just pouting and everything, and Devon's comforting her. Alright, that's fine. Then she decides to go to Frank and Bridget's side, which I have no idea why. I get what she was doing here, that yes, she didn't want to be on their side, so she went to their side, but just her reasoning behind this, I didn't think was really smart at all. The fact that she wanted to get on their side, the fact she wanted to turn against everyone, I just thought wasn't the right way to do it. I mean, I think, honestly, I just don't know if going on Frank's side was the right thing to do, because you don't really know if you can trust Frank right now. Frank, basically, it seems like Tiffany's kind of like a third wheel towards them, very much so, and you just don't really know where she is right now. I think the smarter thing to do would have been to go to James, the only ally he has right now is Natalie, and yes, those two are very tight, and we'll get into that in a second. But basically, I think the smart thing to do would have gone to James, because James pretty much is allied with everyone, and James will definitely have her back. I think that would have been the smart thing to do. Going to Frank just makes her a bigger target. I mean, because everyone can pretty much tell what's going on with Tiffany, that she's not on their side. She's probably working with Frank, and this really, even in the, smallest of moments, we see them, even when Devon is, and this episode, I think they really did a good job at making me not hate Frank as much, and completely turn against the 8-pack, because I hate pretty much everyone that 8-pack after this, because here's the thing, rather than, even though Tiffany was pouting and things like that, and I thought that she was being a really sore loser, and especially the fact that they saved her, and she's acting as if they didn't save her, which I get that obviously, they're upset that they, they were upset they didn't send her out. I get that. And then she just wanted to thank you. That's what she wants. She wanted to thank you. She wanted she just wants something like that. And they didn't give that to her. They didn't give her the benefit of the doubt. And she's really pissed because she's been working with these people since day one. That I get. And I get that obviously they want nothing to do with her because they want her sent out. I totally understand that. But having Nicole and Paul listen up at the door and be spies while Devon's trying to have a conversation with her was completely the wrong way to go. I have no idea what the fuck they were thinking there. There was no reason to do that. I did like Devon comforting Tiffany and her telling her it's going to be okay and what's going on, because Devon kind of feels alone as well. You can definitely tell. Devon feels like she's not really on anyone's side anymore. She doesn't have as many allies. Her and Tiffany obviously aren't going to bond, because Devon's been suspicious of Tiffany since last week, and that those two definitely are not going to bond, but definitely something's going to happen there. That definitely something is going to happen between, you definitely know that something is going to happen in the sense of what Tiffany is going to do, and basically, it doesn't really end up going Tiffany's way at all, I have to say. I mean, even though Tiffany tried, it still didn't really go her way, even though I think she wanted to go her way. It didn't really go her way. Basically, what ended up happening is she does side with Frank and Bridget, and Frank and Bridget aren't even really much of a target right now, because they're just not really doing much of anything. Bridget is, not even in this episode. I mean, even though Bridget's there, she's, not really making good decisions. Nothing really interesting is going on there. But then we get to the roadkill, which I thought was a good, interesting competition. I liked the way it was done overall. But it was also really ridiculous, because it was, Uncle Austin's house or whatever. And Uncle Austin, from last season, has stinked up the trailer, and they need to, find stuff to get it to not stink up anymore. Long story short, Tiffany ends up winning, and she ends up targeting Corey. Corey is the one that is targeted. He's put up on the block. Now, I did get this. I get what her reasoning was behind this. I get why she put up Corey, because obviously, if they're not going to... I've heard people say this, who is the biggest target that's not... Tiffany is the biggest target that's not Tiffany is definitely... Corey and Nicole. They're definitely the number one target besides Tiffany. And if they're not going to come after Tiffany, the best thing to do is to come after, Corey and Nicole, which, again, I don't know what the hell I should call them, because Nicole says they're in a showmance, but I never see those two actually be showmancy or anything like that. They're never kissing. They're never really doing anything. I never see Corey, and I never see, Corey, actually say they're in a romance. I mean, Corey doesn't seem to reciprocate these feelings. Nicole, however, thinks they are in a showmance, and it's really ridiculous. I have the same thing as going on with Paulie and Zakiya, where they're not really in a showmance, and if there's not a kiss or something like that, you're not in a showmance. If you don't get to smash, you're not in a showmance. It's just that simple. You're not in a fucking showmance, and... I can't fathom the fact that Nicole said night one and the first episode of this entire season, I'm not going to try to go after a boy and try to find a boy, when literally the second that Corey joined your team, she immediately grew an attraction to him. So she completely retconned everything she said in the first episode. It went completely everything again she said, and I just think Nicole really is as good as a person as I used to really like Nicole. I really do not like Nicole after this week. I mean, just she's so wishy-washy. She seems to be so bipolar, and everything under the sun bothers her. Honestly, here's the best way I can compare Nicole. The best way I can compare Nicole is a low-key version of Amanda Zuckerman. I know I'm going to say Amanda Zuckerman, but honestly, she definitely has a lot of Amanda Zuckerman in her, and she has a bit of Big Brother 12, not Big Brother 13, but Big Brother 12, Rachel Riley. Those are the two people I can compare it to, and neither of those people I very much like at all. Amanda, as you guys know, is probably my least favorite house guest of all time, right next to Frankie, and Rachel was, really annoying in Big Brother 12. She was great in Big Brother 13 because she realized she doesn't need a guy, and that's why I think Nicole would be better off without Corey. She's so just love struck with Corey and wanting to be with Corey that it's really fucked up her game. And even though she's in a good spot right now, I do think that eventually she's going to be targeted. And having Corey go up, I mean, especially is definitely going to ruin things. But let's get into Wednesday's episode because there definitely is more to talk about there. Let's quickly get back to Tiffany trusting Frank because I just realized this. Tiffany trusting Frank is probably the worst move I think she made because literally right before she was supposed to be evicted, she called him a dictator, she called Bridget his little, Cabbage Patch Kid, and basically completely decides to ally with him. I mean, it just makes no sense whatsoever, and I don't understand why she would choose to do that. I mean, it really fucked up her game in the long run because what I would have done is I would have just taken it. I would have taken the heat. Just own up to your game a little bit, okay? You were the one that was going to target Frank. You were the one that wanted him gone. Frank wanted Tiffany out. She wanted Frank out. And why all of a sudden are these two working together? It just felt really weird all of a sudden. It really doesn't have much of an impact on her game. Even though we get this really strong Tiffany, all it really did was make me really just not like her because even though she thinks she's running things, she's really not. But I will say this definitely was not Paulie's HOH. I mean, Paulie, even though he wanted Tiffany out, and it was completely his, he definitely got the HOH icer because he doesn't do much campaigning or anything like that. There isn't really much talk. But Nicole, however, is freaking out. She's worried that Corey is going to be evicted and that he's a target, and that's what Tiffany wants. She wants Corey to be a target. She wants him out and everything. Wednesday episode, I don't really remember what happened because honestly, this week in general wasn't that eventful, I have to tell you guys. I mean, we got Paul making muffins in one scene, which, here's the thing. I really want to like Paul, I do, but if he keeps saying you're bro and keeps using the word friendship and keeps saying I'm pissed, like saying it like that, it's gonna annoy the fuck out of me, I'm sorry. And here's the thing, I've heard a lot of people compare him to Zach Rance, and here's the thing that Zach Rance had that Paul didn't. Zach Rance did not sound scripted. Zach Rance sounded like he had no filter. It sounded like whatever he said just came out. Paul, however, sounds extremely scripted and just sounds like he's trying to make a catchphrase for himself. Now, Zach kind of did with Fruit Loop Dingus, but that was all on his own, and Paul just came up with this friendship thing, and it's not funny, it's not interesting, I don't know why he keeps saying it, and it's really annoying, and Paul, I think, thinks he's a lot more powerful than he is. I think he's grown a lot more cocky, and I was starting to like him a little bit, but now I'm really not liking him. I think he definitely is starting to annoy me a lot, and yeah, so Wednesday's episode, not too much going on. We get to the POV, and basically Corey does end up winning the POV. We see it's kind of like a ice cream cone thing, but Corey does, in fact, end up winning the POV, takes himself off the block, and then I'm trying to remember who went on the block. We had, I mean, like I said, this week was extremely uneventful. Oh, you had Natalie also freaking out that she's going to be evicted because she's on the block, and James obviously is really concerned that she's going to go on, that something bad's going to happen to her and that she's going to be evicted. She's really freaking out because, and I understand. Here's the thing. I understand Natalie's paranoia a lot more than I understand Tiffany's because, again, Tiffany, you weren't evicted. You're still here. You're acting like you were evicted and you weren't evicted. Natalie's paranoia, I completely understand. Tiffany was supposed to leave last week. Bronte went home. She's worried the same thing's going to happen to her, and I totally understand that. Natalie's something I can get behind. That's one one of the few things I actually liked about this episode. I thought that was definitely well done. I like the stuff going on with Natalie and James, and honestly, Natalie and James is the heart of the show right now for me, to be honest with you. That's one of the things that's keeping me watching the show. I like these two overall. I like their relationship, and there are many times when I like showmances, but this is one that I just feel they genuinely care about each other, and you definitely do see that here. And basically, third nominee, it ends up being, basically it's Tiffany, Natalie, and the third nominee is Davon. They're targeting Davon. You think Davon's gonna go out, and I really was freaking out because I don't think the right thing to do would have been to get rid of Davon. I think it's really dumb they want to do that. Obviously, she's worried that Frank is going to come after her, obviously because of what happened, but that she made amends. And the reason that Tiffany, I think, targeted Davon is because of the fact that she seems to be, at odds with her, and she really doesn't trust Davon. I totally do understand that. A lot of people said things came from Davon. It didn't come from Davon, so she's very confused, and I think that's why she nominated Davon. But that's basically everything that happens Wednesday. Honestly, there's not much going on Wednesday's episode. I can't really remember because it just, like I said, wasn't that eventful of a week. But now we'll get into Thursday, which there's a lot to talk about there. Now, let me just say, I really do like Davon as a character. I think she's definitely very interesting. I like where they're going with her. I like what she's doing in the game. I like what, I like her. I think she's a fun person to talk to, definitely. She seems like one. But as a player, she's really not good. I mean, what she did here, I get what she was trying to do. Let's talk about what she did with James, because I do get what she was trying to do here. The fact that she wanted to target the showmances would be a good thing to do. But the fact that James is in a showmance with Natalie, and she doesn't talk about James and Natalie, and talks about them like they're irrelevant, obviously gets James really pissed, because of the fact that, and no, I'm not going to say pissed like Paul does, because that's just annoying, and you shouldn't do that. But I totally understand why he did that. But also the fact of the other thing I really want to say here is that Natalie and James are in a showmance, and she's acting like they're not in a showmance. And yeah, they're kind of the third showmance round. They're definitely not as strong as Nicole and Corey or Paulie and Zakiya, but thing is, they're not even remotely showmances. I mean, you don't see them really talk about it. They seem to come out of nowhere, and anytime they talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, they're in a showmance. Oh yeah, they're in a showmance. It's just really irrelevant, and James and Natalie, I think, is getting the proper screen time. In fact, they have a little bit of a tiff in this episode, not Tiffany, they're having a little bit of tiff in this episode, where Natalie wanted to give James slop. He said that he'd get himself, and she got a little bit upset because she didn't. And it's a nice scene because you see that James didn't realize how much she cared about him. And honestly, I like this. I think it's genuinely cute. I like it overall. That's something that I do like. I like their relationship. I think that part is well done. Why? Because it's the only thing that doesn't feel manufactured right now. Corey and Nicole feels very one-sided, and Paulie and Zakiya feels very one-sided. So I can't really call those two showmances. And I can't really say I like most of those people anyway. Zakiya, out of those four people, is the only person I really do like, and definitely that's the thing for me. I definitely do not like Paulie, I definitely do not really like Paulie. I sure as hell don't like Nicole. And Corey's just so plain. He's so plain. He's boring. There's nothing interesting about him. But basically, Julie even said on Thursday night's episode that they were still strategizing right before, and that is true. The feeds did in fact go off, but that's not, I think, the main reason why. I think it's because the battle back was going on at that point. But basically, they're still strategizing. They're not really knowing what to do. Part of them is saying maybe get Davon out, but then they're thinking maybe target Tiffany. So you don't really know what they're going to do there. I thought that definitely was very interesting. And then when we saw Cody and Vanessa again in those, in those scenes where they talk about their gameplay, I just thought it was really unnecessary. I don't really know why we had to do that. I mean, it reminds us how good of a player Cody really was, because honestly, Cody did kind of ruin his gameplay in the last week, but he was a very loyal player. He was very loyal to Derek. He always was on Derek's side. He did everything Derek told him to do, and he handled information very well. He always took it to Derek. He didn't talk behind people's back. He didn't play every side of the house. I think he did a good job with that, and that's something I did like about Cody. Paulie, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, I don't know what the hell he's doing. He has, no campaign whatsoever. It seems like he just wants to go after Tiffany, and then he gets a haircut that looks exactly like Paul's. I mean, are you trying to make yourself look even less relevant? All that does is make me call you Paul too. In fact, from the rest of this season, until he gets rid of that haircut, I'm not calling him Paulie. I'm calling him Paul too, because he doesn't even seem like Paulie. So, Paul too that is your new name, Paul 2, basically. Paul 2, basically, that's what I'm going to call him from now on. We get to the eviction, and we didn't really know what was going to happen here. I honestly didn't know if it was going to be between Davon or Tiffany, but Tiffany does, in fact, end up leaving, and I thought, okay, she's probably going to get back into the house. That's what I thought they were going to do, and there's no HOH, we find out. There is some good stuff here, we find out, because we basically find out here, I did like the way Tiffany handled herself, the way that she said everything. You could definitely see she wanted to be a good player, but this week just kind of ruined her entire game, and also the fact that, again, Paulie didn't do much campaigning, and then when he got that haircut, I think that really was the last straw for him. Him getting that haircut really makes him not relevant, and that's why he's now Paul 2. So then we get to the end of the episode, and Julie tells everyone that first of all, there's no HOH in this episode, which is very bizarre. I don't know why they didn't do an HOH, but it's also because of the fact that we have, there's the fact that the teams are done. Thank God the teams are finally done, which honestly, I could not be happier that the teams are done, because the fact that they've contributed absolutely nothing but just conflict. They've made conflict, they've made things complicated, and they made things really unnecessary. Everyone is safe. There's always 3 people safe every single week, and you can't target those 3 people. And it's really annoying that those 4 people are always safe every single week. So I like that the team twist is done, and with that goes the roadkill. So those 2 are done. My question is, what happens on Sundays now? Are they bring back have not? Is something going to happen there? I mean, I honestly don't know what's happening on Sunday. We don't know who the HOH is, and feeds were still down. So that's everything that happens on Thursday, but let's get now into the battle back, which is really what I want to talk about in this episode. So, when I initially heard about the battle back, I was somewhat excited. I'm like, alright, this is the way you stir things up. You get 4 people back, you see what's going to happen here. The problem is, the 4 people that have left have been completely irrelevant. They haven't really done much in the game. They haven't really handled things well. I mean, you have Glenn, who left because, he lost competition. You have Josiah, who left because he was terrible at, he was terrible at lying, and he said everything that was going on. He was terrible at not telling the truth, because he did tell the truth all the time, and he just could not keep himself from telling the truth. You had Victor, who, every bit of information he wanted someone. He was also very misogynistic, I heard. You had Bronte, who thought that she was a lot more close to people, and she wasn't. And then you have Tiffany, who completely ruined her entire gameplay and salvaged it. So I really didn't know what was going to happen here. I like the montage we got of everyone, but wow, was this uneventful. I mean, the second that Victor kept winning every comp, I'm like, Victor's probably going to go all the way through. I really thought Tiffany and him, they were going to end up, winning this, but I really thought Tiffany was going to end up beating him, but no, Victor does end up getting back in the house, and it's just really uneventful. It really is. I don't care that Victor's back. He's going to do absolutely nothing. He's going to ally with Paul and Paul 2, and he's going to probably become Paul 3 and get his own haircut just like Paul did. But yeah, it's just really unnecessary. I don't know why the hell they're doing this. I don't know why we do the battle back, and it just doesn't do much of anything. I mean, it just doesn't seem like Victor's going to stir up much trouble. I could be wrong. I mean, we know he's a competition beast, but they really made me dislike Victor in this episode because he has no compassion, we see. He doesn't seem to care. I mean, even though he was kind of nice to some people, he really was a douche. He was a douche. I get that he was in it to win it, but he really was, I think, very douchey, very cocky, and I really just, I don't know, I'm not happy that Victor came back. Like I said in my intro, I know Alison Gronner's been working on the show for a while, but I really think she needs to be fired, honestly. Mainly because of the fact that I think these twists are amounting to nothing, and these twists seem to not even be twists. This is not a twist. This is simply someone just randomly coming back. It feels like a random draw where someone just comes back, and it's just really weird. I don't like this. I think it's really dumb. It seems like there's going to be another battle back this season, but now we have this other ridiculous twist to talk about where there's apparently this briefcase, and actually, not a briefcase, there's a door, basically, and there's this secret room, and whoever goes into the secret room and gets the clues right, and there's a secret room, they have some sort of special power, and we don't know what that's going to be. Doubt it's actually going to do something, but that's pretty much everything to really talk about. Let's get into predictions overall. Not really much to predict to you right now, because honestly, I have no idea who the HOH is. The fees don't go up for 3 hours, so I don't know who the HOH is. I don't know what impact Victor has made. I don't know if Victor's going to do much of anything. Victor coming back, I honestly have no idea what he's going to do. Who needs the HOH right now, and who actually I think is going to stir up trouble is Natalie. Natalie, I want to win the HOH. Why? Because she actually knows what she's doing. I think she's playing a very good game. I think her being allied with James is a good spot to have. James is pretty much tight with everyone. I think that she hasn't made any enemies in the house. She's definitely laying low. I think if she's in power, though, she can really do something big, and I really think Natalie or James winning this is the best thing to do, and I think those two, and we've even seen when James, gets HOH, he's very focused, and I think, him and Natalie, I think they work very well together. A lot of people say that James is very unfocused. I wouldn't say that. I'd say if anyone's unfocused, I think Nicole is the most unfocused one right now. If she wins HOH, then, we know definitely who's going up. Dave Vaughn probably is going to be the one targeted. I don't really know what's going to happen there, but, honestly, I just don't know what else to say. This season for me is really starting to go down. I'm really starting to dislike most people in the season. I'll tell you guys who I like right off the bat. James, Natalie, Michelle, Zakiya. There you go. That's it. And to an extent, Dave Vaughn. I like those people. I like those people overall. Everyone else I really just think is either very plain or really annoying. I mean, Corey's just way too plain for me. Paul needs to stop saying friendship every 5 seconds. Frank and Bridget, you guys know how I feel about them. Nicole's like my least favorite house guest right now because of all the decisions she's made. Paul 2, of course, I can't stand either. Paul and his little henchman, Paul 2, I can't stand him either. So those are really the only ones I like that are in the house. And Devon, I don't think she's a good player, but I do think that she's good in the sense that she knows how to talk to people, but she doesn't really campaign well and do things like that. I really am not liking a lot of people in the house, though, and I don't know if I'm going to continue watching this season if the season continues to play out the way it is, because right now, I mean, it's a joke, honestly. This season is a joke. I mean, nothing that big is happening. Nothing really interesting is going on. People thought Josiah was coming back in the house. I don't know why they thought that the almighty Josiah was going to come back. I mean, when he won with Glenn, I was kind of like, oh, maybe he'll come back. But the second he lost to Victor, I'm like, no chance. No chance that he's ever going to come back. But I just don't know, guys. I don't know what else to say about this week. I really was not a fan of it. I think, like I said, Paul 2 really salvaged his gameplay, so I don't really know. Let me know what you guys thought of this week. For me, I'm starting to really lose interest in most of what's going on. I gotta tell you, I kind of just am tuning out a little bit just because it's not interesting. There's nothing that interesting really going on here. Really, I don't think there's enough campaigning. I think there's a lot of people taking things way too personally. I think people are getting way too caught up in showmances, and a lot of people are just getting way too comfortable, especially, Dave Vaughn, who gave that goodbye message to Tiffany probably the worst time possible when she should have, just kept her cool and not done anything, obviously because she thought Tiffany was going to come back in the house, and we know that she was going to do that with Josiah, but she had that mentality that he couldn't come back in the house, but because of her being so comfortable, she didn't do that to Tiffany. In the end, it really didn't mean anything. But with Victor back, what is he really going to do? I don't know if he's really going to do anything. Let me know what you guys thought this week. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Again, I don't have much to say. I'm really starting to lose interest. I don't really know moving forward if things are going to get better. If it does, great. If not, then I don't know. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Outcast. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.